Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Peter Barber. I'm primarily a professional opera singer, music producer, and of course, a bass vocalist. Today, after a few months off, we are returning to MarcelitoPomoy singing Time to Say Goodbye on America's Got Talent, the champions. I guess this is the semifinals. This song is originally by Andrea Bocelli, who adopts a sort of classical operatic-like technique to his singing. He's kind of a mix of most people call it kind of like pop opera, his style of singing, as opposed to like bel canto, like fully, operatic style singing. So, last time I heard Marcelito sing the prayer, he definitely adopted some of this technique, and it was very interesting to hear his take on it, as well as to hear his incredible register shifts from singing in his, kind of true baritone or true tenor voice type, depending on who you ask, and flipping up into, singing more like a soprano, singing up in his very high head voice. And in my opinion, that is where his voice is strongest. That is where he genuinely seems most comfortable in his singing, which is amazing. Guys, this is a reaction and analysis video, so I will be pausing to talk primarily about vocal technique and perhaps other artistic and musical choices that I hear. But with my goal really being to bring as much possible value and enjoyment to your listening experience. This is not a standard reaction video where I'll just sit here and make noises and make faces at the things these singers do. I will actually be explaining what the singers are doing, and with the hopes that it'll help you guys gain appreciation for what these amazing singers do and an understanding you can take forth into your listening experience. So if I am adding value to your experience, please do consider joining my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. It is the best possible way to support me as a creator, educator, artist, all that stuff. In addition, as always, please do like this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please leave a comment for the algorithm. Could be as simple as saying, "Hi Peter," or "Marcelito's awesome," or "Andrea Bocelli rules." Doesn't matter, all good for the algorithm. And without further ado, guys, let's break this down. Let's react, let's analyze, let's have some fun. Today's video is sponsored by Native. The two most important characteristics for me when choosing a deodorant is the texture, how it feels going on, and the scent. With Native deodorant, it is non-sticky and actually feels dry going on, which is what I prefer. The three scent combinations I chose are sea salt and cedar, lavender and rose, and lastly, vanilla and sandalwood. Native also included a powder and cotton scented body wash in the package they sent me. My favorite scent is the sea salt and cedar. It smells like a fresh ocean breeze and reminds me of some of my favorite memories going to the beach with my family in the summertime. One other thing that's important to me is the ingredients used in the deodorants. Native deodorants are aluminum free and paraben free. They are also vegan and cruelty free. If you want to get a little crazy with the scents, Native also offers scents from their candy shop collection, including gummy bears, sweet cinnamon hearts, sour berry belts, and strawberry and vanilla taffy. Use my link and code BARBER as seen on the screen now to get 20% off your first purchase with Native. This offer is available site-wide, but is only available for a limited period of time. So go save right now. I absolutely love these products, and I know you will too. So follow the link, get yourself some Native deodorant, and enjoy. See you next time. So this is also, the video is pretty blurry. I'm sure of some kind of secondhand recording of this. Anyway, we're here to talk about the singing anyway. So yeah, right from the top, he jumps right into that high, head voice falsetto, very light mechanism of singing, no connection to chest voice here. So what this essentially means physiologically is that just the very edges of his vocal folds are vibrating, just the mucosal membrane, as opposed to in a chest voice, in a connected chest voice, all of the vocal folds are vibrating, which means the thyroarytenoid muscles, which are about 75 to 90% of the vocal folds, plus the mucosal membranes, are vibrating.
One reason why it's hard to sing really high in your chest voice is because when you sing high, you actually stretch the vocal folds out. And it's purely harder physiologically to stretch out more mass, especially muscle mass. So that's why to sing higher, you opt for a lighter mechanism where you're actually stretching less of the vocal fold mass. So that is what's happening here physiologically. He has so much comfort in this part of his range. I kept being, I watched his performance of The Prayer on the Wish Bus, and I was just amazed at how comfortable his voice is up there. Just, perfectly in tune, just easy shift of pitch, full control. So that's really where I think his voice shines. And I guess it looks like he's going to be performing at least part of this piece in that part of his range. Really good tuning. So that's up to tenor high C. Now, of course, he's singing in this head voice, so tenor high C, not a particularly high note in this mechanism of singing. Otherwise, in a pure connected chest voice, that would be extremely high, right? That's why it's called tenor high C. But what I do like, he's kind of, this is why I say the technique Bocelli uses and Marcelito's using here is kind of like pop opera. Because in an operatic technique, if you approach these phrases with operatic technique, the vibrato would be going throughout the entire phrase. That's like proper bel canto singing. So the vibrato, even on short notes, is like the whole phrase has an underpinning of this very free spinning vibrato, as opposed to if you listen to how Marcelito or Andrea Bocelli ascend these phrases, whatever the pitches are, there's no vibrato there. The vibrato only comes in right on that last note. So they get to the higher note of the phrase, they get to the kind of climax of the phrase, and then they kind of relax everything and let the vibrato come through. This is a very common technique used in musical theater. It's pretty common when vibrato is used in pop music, although not super often, more musical theater. How you'll hear a singer, they'll strike the pitch, and then they'll hold it straight tone for a while, and then let the vibrato come in. That's like a variation of what we're hearing here. See when it's ro, parole, pa, da 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 da, all straight tone, and then parole, and then lets the vibrato come in there right at the end. Parole, I guess that means words in Italian. Same thing there. So pretty much every time he has a sustained pitch, Marcelito is allowing that vibrato to come in. And then on all these short pitches, keeping it much more, it's hard to call it straight tone, because straight tone is usually, that term is usually only applied to longer phrases that are held with a straight tone. But senza vibrato, okay, without vibrato, I guess you could say. Oh, so that's nice. So getting a little bit more vocal color, the timbre or the actual quality, kind of the characteristics of the actual sound. So I like talking about vocal colors. His voice, he has very good vocal fold closure, so usually when he's in this head voice, it's a very pure, bright sound. But right at the end of this phrase, he intentionally pulls off the voice and he allows more breathiness to come through, and it adds for a very nice shift in kind of the intimacy of the sound. The sound gets less in your face and it gets much more almost whisper-like right at the end of this phrase. It's like his vocal folds are just barely coming together, as opposed to, a few seconds before where it's like very pure vocal fold closure. Like that, you hear the edge to that sound. It's very bright. There's a lot of vocal fold closure, a lot of high harmonics in the sound. And then compare that, what you just heard, to what you hear right at the end of this phrase when he gets much softer. Almost off the voice entirely. Also, there must be, I think there's a key change later, because I think this song does go higher than this. All right, so he has now switched into, I've only heard him for a couple minutes sing in this quality. To me, he sounds like a high baritone, low tenor in the quality of his sound. Probably a tenor if he actually like fleshed out classical training and went for it. But he's got this switch. We get this crazy dramatic contrast. When he's singing in his head voice, he's not adjusting his larynx much. He's keeping a much more kind of natural laryngeal position. A lot of opera singers, especially the, kind of the more you go down, the lower voices, you actually drop your pharynx and create more space in the pharynx to create that kind of darker, rounded sound. And you hear him make that shift when he goes from this high head voice to his chest voice. You hear him intentionally putting more warmth, more roundness, more darkness into the sound, as is traditional when you're singing, with operatic technique, or some shift towards a more operatic technique. But this is kind of we're cutting in the nice contrast between his operatic technique in his head voice and his operatic technique in his chest voice. And it's a radical shift. That's one thing that makes Marcelito's voice so captivating, is he can go back and forth so seamlessly and remain truly in both those techniques back to back to back to back. That's what, I wasn't expecting that when I heard his performance of the prayer, and it totally shocked me. And I assume he'll do more of that later in this, because that's like kind of his thing. So you can hear the time. He gets there's much more space in his throat than there was when he was singing in his head voice. So he starts that on a D3. That's that passage here. To G3. To G4s there. So again, same concept as before, keeping it senza vibrato when the pitches are moving, and then letting the vibrato come through during the longer pitches. Ba-na-na-na instead of ba-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na. It's a little difficult to tell in short pitches whether there's vibrato or not, because not many spins happen. It's almost more of a feeling of flow. You can feel how when he sings that part, it's ba 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 instead of ba da da da. It's a little less legato. And again, that just goes into this style. And as far as I know, he does not have formal training, so a lot of his skill and the sounds you hear comes from him just training by ear, kind of training himself. So he is essentially just trying to mimic what Andrea Bocelli's doing. And Bocelli, like I said, adopts that kind of opera, kind of not opera technique, where there's a lot of straight tone, but he puts vibrato in on the longer pitches and has some of that kind of classical darkness to his sound. But it's not like if you hear, singers that actually perform in opera houses. So Bocelli's made a life out of, concert performances, microphones and such. If you listen to the operatic tenors sing the same repertoire that Bocelli does, it is actually a different technique that they use. It's a fully operatic technique meant for opera houses, whereas Bocelli's technique is a little more meant for kind of the masses, because opera is such a niche genre, not that many people listen to it, but a lot of people listen to Bocelli. It's kind of similar to Josh Groban. He has a kind of operatic technique, but it's more like pop opera, and it has this mass appeal. It's much more digestible in a way. So Marcelito's really, doing a great job imitating what he's heard Bocelli do. So you can tell as he gets higher in that range, right? Up to this G4, the vocal fold closure gets a lot higher. The kind of pureness in the sound comes back, more so than what you hear lower in his chest range, kind of as he was ascending towards those high notes. It's time to say goodbye. See, to me, every time he sings in his head voice, it just like makes me smile because it sounds so easy and free, and just much. It's less effort than he has to put in to kind of adopt that style of singing in his chest voice. It seems like it just comes really naturally to him in his high range. But what I just wanted to flag is just how amazing it is that he switches so comfortably back and forth. You know, there's no voice cracks. He's not out of tune. It's just like he's in this register and then he's in the next register and like goes back and forth super fast. It's I mean, of course, all the judges are mesmerized. The audience is mesmerized. I'm mesmerized. It's a really amazing thing and not something you hear very often. That switch right there. It's like two different voices. Out of that D3 again. So easy. Up to that G5 there. It gets a little, you know, he's got to put a little more focus. It's a little more kind of like this. It's like as you get to the top, you kind of got to be more and more careful, more and more nuanced to how you approach the sound. Lower in your voice is just easier. It's more natural. The vocal folds are stretched out less. And you can feel a little bit of that, a little bit of like he's kind of trying to zero in to kind of walk that tightrope as he ascends up into his higher head voice there. But I just love how easy it sounds. Like that's what you want to hear when someone's singing. You just want it to be singing classically, singing how Marcelito's singing is not easy. You know, for most people, it takes a lot of training, or like him, a lot of years of imitation and, you know, careful listening and practice, whether formal or not. But you want it to sound easy. You want it to be an illusion that it's easy. That's kind of the goal, and it sounds very easy when he does it. So you heard a little bit of like a slip in the vibrato there. Again, that's just because like it's a live performance, so like expecting perfection, whatever perfection really is, subjective. So you can expect little hiccups like that. You can tell there's a little hiccup there, and there's nothing wrong with that. So as he goes up like a split second into this high G, it just doesn't quite settle. His voice gets a little fluttery, and then it settles shortly after. Right there, you hear that little like dip in sound. It's just a sign that like his voice, didn't quite settle right on that note immediately. That's all that means. But then he gets right back on track, finishes the phrase nicely. Here's the key change. So A flat major? No. Oh, full step. Okay, so we went to A major. Okay. So you can tell he really has. I mean, you have to. I mean, like getting at work. So we're in A4 now, tenor. You know, the A just below tenor high, minor third below tenor high C. And this takes effort. Like this takes nuance. This takes training to be able to sing this with any kind of comfort. And as I pointed out on the Wish bus, like you can tell Marcelito's putting more effort into this. There's more. There's like clearly an effort to make more vocal fold closure to avoid any kind of voice crack like that. And it feels like he's holding on to it a little tighter. You know, it's not a totally free sound like you hear in his head voice. You know, throughout. Until he gets, you know, at the very top, like throughout most of his high head voice falsetto, it's super easy. It's less easy for him to sing at this height in his chest voice, but at the same time, still very accurate on pitch. You know, still the vocal fold closure is quality. It's a quality sound coming out, and you've also got to factor that into the fact that he's, you know, jumping back and forth between registers, which makes it harder to kind of, you know, settle and get grounded in one style of singing, which also contributes to this being more challenging. He did get some vibrato in that first note, though. Quick vibrato was there. See, that's money. That's money right there. That's what I'm talking about with the musical theater style. No, it is. He is opting for a little more like of a hootie sound because it is this classical crossover genre. Classical crossover. That's another way to put it. I said pop opera, classical crossover. That's kind of the ballpark we're in. But look at Heidi. She's like, oh, he's gonna do it. But he hits this A5 with straight tone for a while, and it's a great performance effect. Again, when you're not in the opera world where it's going to be vibrato the whole time, to sustain that, because when you start letting the vibrato in, it's like a release for not only for him but for like the audience. It's like there's tension. Literally, there is tension in the voice when it's straight tone, and so when the vibrato comes in, there's like a universal feeling of like, like it's like a proper climax, a proper release after this build up. So it's a wonderful use of that style, and especially to finish a really exciting performance on a high note, especially exciting, doubly exciting. So vibrato, 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 straight tone, then vibrato. Epic. People freaking out. Amazing. Yes, so, okay, all right. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you learned something about the voice. Hope you learned something about MarcelitoPomoy, what makes him so talented. If you did, if I added value to your life, consider adding a little value to my life. Join the Patreon family. There are 6 tiers, starting with $1 a month, which gets you access to my Discord server, early access to all my videos, life updates, polls, stuff like that. And then up the ladder, you go to like live streams, happy hours, handwritten letters, merchandise, cool stuff like that, on and up the ladder. But for as little as $1 a month, or if you subscribe for the year, $10, $10.80 for a whole year. Greatly appreciate it. That is the best way, no question, to support me as a creator. And guys, I hope you enjoyed. I really did hope you learned something. My goal is to add value, so I hope you enjoy this. I hope you appreciate his singing more. I hope you appreciate this song more. I hope you got some insight into Bocelli and like what his style really is, because a lot of people think he's a pure opera singer. He's not. He's really not. He has taken operatic style singing and really kind of brought it to the masses in a very accessible way. Brilliant, and like a brilliant business move. He's more famous than any real opera singer. That's for sure. So some insight into that. I hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace.